if you're watching this and you don't know about the project that it belongs to, look at the video that it's a response to and watch that video, and you should volunteer to help out. What I wanted to talk about first is one of my big pet peeves. Drives me crazy. Everybody always says that selective mutism is rare. On like a TV segment, it'll be introduced as a rare anxiety disorder or a rare childhood disorder. Even a lot of people who have selective mutism and are making videos about it say that it's rare. And of course, you probably haven't met many people who've been diagnosed with it, because it's hardly ever diagnosed. I've probably only met one offline, even though I think I've met 3 people who've had it at least. But even when it's not diagnosed, there have been studies to see how common it is. The first study said it was 1 in 1,000 children. The second study says it's 7 in 1,000. This is 0.7%, but it's less than 1%. It's about 1 in 150 people. If 1 in every 150 young children has selective mutism, it's definitely something you should be worrying about. In my elementary school, by 5th grade, there were, I think, about 120 kids in my grade, possibly more. So you'd say there has to be at least one person in my grade with selective mutism, and I think I know who that was. In my middle school, there were probably twice as many kids. I didn't know everybody there, so I can't really say, but I did know one girl who probably had been selectively muted as a child. So it's really something that elementary school teachers in particular should be worrying about, because they're very likely, in a school my size, every year somebody's going to have to deal with it. Of course, I'm saying every year in each grade. So there should be about 6 or 7 a year, but they're all in different grades. And of course, that's if everything goes perfectly. Of course, not every single year, but most years. Because like I said, my elementary school had about 120 kids. In a slightly larger one, it should be every year if things go perfectly. But remember, it's also an average, so you might have 2 in the same class, which I have heard of happening. Keep in mind that there are also varying degrees of selective mutism. So a lot of people manage to cover it. It doesn't mean that it's not a problem for them, it's just less of a problem. And a lot of people who have it just define themselves as shy, and everybody thinks that about them. Like the kid I knew in elementary school, who I now think has selective mutism, I just thought was the shyest kid. You don't really think twice about that. A lot of people with SM don't really realize they have a problem, so they don't look for help. So if you're a therapist wondering why you never see it, it's probably because of that. And they just live with it until they start to talk, but of course they've missed out on lots of social development. So the point is, you may have actually known somebody who's selectively mute, you just didn't really think about it. The other thing is, so imagine what would happen if you said to somebody, autism is rare. They would probably tell you, of course it's not rare. We used to think it was. We used to think it was extremely rare. But now we know it's actually pretty common. Now we think even 1 in 150 children have it, and that's really common. Well, that's the same as selective mutism, so I have never heard autism called rare. They're always talking about how common it is. Always. And some people do think that it's 1 in 110, which is more. Some people even think it's more common than that. When I was saying these statistics, I was talking about autism spectrum disorder. Autism specifically has a much lower incidence, 1 or 2 in 1,000. The point is, it's not that different than selective mutism, and people would say that 1 in 150 is common. So why is it that everybody says it's rare when it's for selective mutism and common for autism? This just doesn't make sense. Is this your attempt to explain why nobody's heard of it? It's not because it's rare, it's because nobody knows what it is. It's because people say that kid's shy, or that kid's autistic, or something. I don't know. Sometimes it seems like, in a way, saying it's rare lowers its importance. It says you don't have to worry about it so much. But we worry about things that are much more rare than this. It's like people have chosen certain things to worry about and certain things not to. And if it's one of those things you don't worry about, it's called rare, whether it is or not. So, in your videos, please don't say that it's rare. Just because you don't know for sure that you know somebody else with it doesn't mean it's rare at all.